Okay, AP Macro students, this is a video that will talk you through the notes for the beginning of topic 1.1 and topic 1.2. Topic 1 and 2 of Unit 1 cover the topics and terms that you see listed there on the screen. What we're going to mainly talk about today is opportunity cost, and then we're going to segue that into our next class, in which we'll talk about how to graph opportunity cost and how to quantify opportunity cost. And we're going to quantify it into something known as comparative advantage. So we will do comparative advantage and production possibility frontiers in our next class. But right now we're going to talk about opportunity cost. And before we get to that, it's important that you understand what production means and what resources, when economists talk about allocation of resources, who should get resources, how should they be distributed, you need to understand what they envision in the word resources, what they think about, okay? So when economists think about the word resource, they think about those bullet points that you see listed there. Resources are land, labor, capital, and within capital you have two types of capital, human and physical. So these are known as factors of production. So in order for a country to produce something, whether it's domestic goods and services like roads and bridges and highways, healthcare services, down to your basic shops and grocery stores, to big national products like defense and the postal service and education, you're going to need factors of production to produce any of the things that we mentioned. So take, for example, a business right here in town. A business right off the bat needs a certain parcel of land. Now it varies by business, but for example, the movie theater here in town needs a sizable amount of land on which to build a building and to develop and use their product, to distribute their product, which is movies. The movie theater needs labor, okay? It needs workers to supply everything from the popcorn and the food and the drinks to selling the tickets to running the film to actually show the movies, okay? So that's labor. It also requires what's known as capital. So a lot of people, when they think of capital, they think of money. And capital could be money, but capital is actually far bigger than just money. And capital is a term that tends to confuse kids that we're going to use quite a bit throughout the course. So capital is branched off into two categories. You have what's known as human capital and physical capital. Okay, so human capital would be the skills and talents necessary to complete a job or perform a service. So for example, a doctor needs an extensive amount of education and training and internships in which to perform open heart surgery or be working in the COVID wing of a hospital right now. That doctor requires significant human capital. And to run a hospital or a healthcare facility, you need to hire people that have high amounts, copious amounts of human capital, very skilled and talented people. So human capital plays an important role in how productive a society is. It's why you hear in politics all the time, politicians talk about the importance of education. We need to spend more money on our schools, on our people themselves. What they're really saying is, we want to improve people's human capital. We want to give people more education and training and talents available. I'll give you another example before I move on. Amazon, which we've all heard about. About a year and a half, 2 years ago, Amazon came out with a big announcement and said that it would be training all of its employees on its new computer software, how to use technology, the newest technology, and give them the ability to work up in the ranks in Amazon because they're trained. And Amazon is doing this training for free, and there's really no strings attached. So that's a great example of Amazon investing in human capital and their employees' human capital. They're giving their employees more training and skills in the hopes that they're going to be happier employees, they're going to be more successful and productive employees, and it's going to lead to a more efficient and productive company. Physical capital. Okay, so on the other end you have physical capital, which is like your computers and your machines and your technology needed to provide a good or service. All right, so when you hear about companies a shipping company buying a new fleet of cargo trucks or container bins, or upgrading their port, whether it's an airport or a shipping port on the Atlantic coast. That's an example of a company investing in physical capital. All right, so physical capital would be more of your tangible computer technology, infrastructure upgrades. Human is the actual human skills and talents that people have. All right, so those are the factors of production. Fairly easy to understand, especially land and labor. We all know what that is. The amount of labor varies by person, but capital is something that I think you guys should really focus on in this slide. Make sure you understand what capital is and the two types of capital, because we'll be discussing that quite a bit throughout the course. All right, so let me go back here. So when a company has these factors of production, they have to determine, okay, with our given set of factors of production, because you don't have an unlimited amount. There isn't an infinite amount of human capital and physical capital out there, whether you're running an entire country like the United States or the city of Woodstock, or you're an individual company. You have to decide how to use your factors of production. And when you make that decision, you're giving something else up. Right? Like for the movie theater, for example, sticking with that. When the movie theater decides to show certain movies, they have the option. They can show older movies. They can bring in new movies. They have to leave some movies or not show them at all, or not give them as much time, time slots. That's something that's known as opportunity cost. Okay? So I'll let you read through these bullet points here, and then we'll talk about what opportunity cost actually means. So opportunity cost, these are a couple examples. At night, you have a certain amount of time to Snapchat it up, or watch a movie, or hang out with friends, go out to eat, do homework, work a job. Whatever decision you make, you're sacrificing that next best decision. Look at the second bullet point there. If you're working a summer job, and then on a Friday, the Cubs are playing the Cardinals in a regular summer, and you say, you know what, I'm going to the 1:20 Cubs-Cardinals game at Wrigley. I'm calling in sick for the day. What are you sacrificing? Well, a lot of kids are going to think, well, I'm sacrificing the pay. True, you're sacrificing your pay for the day. You're also sacrificing that positive relationship you might have with your employer. You might also be sacrificing any new skills or talents you might learn at work that day, the interaction with people. Those are all examples of what's known as opportunity cost. Okay, so here's some other examples of opportunity cost. And opportunity cost is essentially giving up something when making a decision. It's a trade-off. You're sacrificing the next best choice. So everything in life revolves around opportunity cost. Every decision you guys make has an opportunity cost. Here's some examples of real-world application here, from COVID-19 to unemployment bonuses, to personal protection equipment for COVID-19. A lot of automotive industries and manufacturing industries have shut down what they were focusing on, whether it's from textiles to robotics to cars, and they focused on making more personal protection equipment. Your hazmat suits, to your face shields, to your coverings, things like that. And so it sounds like a great idea, and it probably is, but what's the opportunity cost? Well, the opportunity cost might be less cars produced, which could result in a higher price of cars, or less robotics or automotive equipment that's produced. So you might have longer wait times on getting a car repaired, or other factory installed machines repaired. So that there's always an opportunity cost here. The opportunity cost for the industry itself is that they have to now train their workers, and now their workers, instead of producing a product that they were really comfortable in making, from cars to robotics, now they're making something different where it might cost them more time. It might take them longer to produce these goods and services because they are not as trained and efficient at it. If the United States decides to encourage people to buy more U.S. goods, and they raise taxes on things we buy from China, again, sounds like a great idea. Hey, buy American, but what's the opportunity cost? Well, you're sacrificing the purchase of some lower cost goods, which might result in Americans shelling out more out of their paychecks because they have to buy the more expensive U.S. goods. It could lead to a negative trade agreements or possibly friction between countries. So hopefully these make you think about what are some real life examples of opportunity cost. It's what you're giving up, all right? So in summary here, it's what you're sacrificing. Whenever you make a decision, whether you're a municipality, a country, a company, or you, the individual, the decisions you make on a daily basis involve a trade-off. Trade-off's the same thing as an opportunity cost. It's what you're giving up. So I don't want to keep saying that over and over. If you're watching this video and you're like, yeah, I get it. Why do you keep saying this? Awesome, you got it. This is a very simplified lesson right here. What we're going to do in the future now is we're going to talk about, all right, so if you're a company and you decide to make a certain good or service, how do you quantify? How do you put into numbers what you'd be giving up, what your opportunity cost is? So guys, we're going to be able to, in the coming days, we're going to be able to graph opportunity costs. We're going to introduce our first graph, which is a production possibilities frontier graph. And then we're going to be able to use that graph, and using the data available, we're going to be able to determine what actual opportunity cost is and who is good at producing certain things given their opportunity cost. All right, and then we're going to transition that and connect that to how world trade works. World trade, guys, functions mainly around opportunity cost. Companies and countries focusing on what involves their lowest opportunity cost, what they have to give up the least, okay? So in summary, make sure you know what opportunity cost is for today. Maybe you could come up with some real world examples that I didn't list here. And then be prepared to start being able to graph this and quantify this when we meet as a class in our next class, okay? All right, have a good day.